Yo, my peoples, what's up? Jason here with the One Stop Co-op Shop. I have a 5-point preview for today for Tiny Epic Vikings. This one is the 12th, by my count, Tiny Epic game, a unique one in the line. This one is a prototype that I was sent for the purposes of this preview, so every component that you'll see will be prototype quality thus far. It is a 1-to-4 player game that I think does more than many other Tiny Epic games at combining multiple mechanisms, multiple senses of play. You got your combat, you got your area control, you got your Euro stuff. A lot of stuff has been packed in to Tiny Epic, which is their hallmark. At this point, I'm eager to break all that down in 5 points, so let's get to it. My point number 1, it is a Viking game, so of course we got to talk about the combat. You see these ships, you see the opportunity to cross paths and cross swords, and not quite. Actually, in Tiny Epic Vikings, direct combat with your opponents is a little bit more extracted than that. Every round, there's going to be a draft of cards. So you're going to end up with a couple of cards, and actions are card plays. I will show you the resource and movement-oriented actions in just a second, but let's show some combat, which is actually evocative of a kind of poker. I was expecting Viking combat, and a poker game broke out. This is how it works. So if you want to play combat, you would declare one of these prizes. One of the prizes that are at the edge of the board, I'll go ahead and pick this one. Some nice, juicy runes right there that I want. I would then play a card face down, and I would look all around at my opponents and say, I'm going for combat. Does somebody want to combat with me? So every player has to figure out, are they doing a legitimate card, which this is a big fat 13, that would be pretty legitimate, or are they bluffing and putting a little weenie card and trying to get away with one? So a reading of the other players in the middle of your Viking experience, pretty interesting. My point number 2 is fail forward. So let's say I put my bat to the bone, giant combat card down, and I have defeated my enemies. So the winner would get the rune card, and that is very powerful to have runes. I'll get to those in just a second, and I'll put that on my player board. The loser, however, does get something. This is an innovation that has come with a lot of Viking-themed games. I'm thinking Blood Rage or Campers of Midgard, where if you lose, there is glory in Valhalla for you. You would look at what the card is, which in this case it is a pink rune, and you would see the associated deity. And so you would have this benefit, which is the Valhalla benefit, and you would get something even in a loss. So that's part of your strategy. Do you want to throw away a bad card to trigger a Valhalla loss, and because you like the particular benefit? So we have 3 deities featured here. There's 3 more that I received in the preview, and I bet there'll be a couple of more. Lots of deities in the Norse universe, so lots of opportunities to gain glory for your losses. My point number 3 is Tug of War style area control. So I just showed you that combat is more above the table, kind of a mental game between players. In terms of the board play, we're looking at more of a tug of war scenario where we're trying to establish dominance in certain areas and acquire these valuable runes. So as I have it set up, red has a settler on this island and has a rune. These are super valuable. You're really going to want these in the game. They are let you fire off additional actions if you want to do regular card actions. They add to your bonus if you are in combat with certain cards. They're useful for endgame scoring. Runes are good. You want them. And so let's say on a future turn, the player plays a card that enables some movement. So then Riella would move over here and boot this dude out. Get out of here. And let's say they're able to pay the food cost. They would put on some workers or settlers. Down here, this would be returned to the mat, and we would, yoink, gain control of that rune and be able to start comboing stuff off of that rune. For my final 2 points, I'm going to discuss what I think is the most important thing to know about Tiny Epic Vikings, which is that it has really solid Euro-style bones to it. So we're talking about resource management. You will have 3 resources to manage. You will have food, which will govern your settlers. You'll have wood that you'll be able to build stuff, and you'll have steel, which is involved in the various combat-esque things that happen. So these are going to go up and down, and you are going to have to manage that. Eventually, you're going to want to build temples and ships. As you build them, you'll be able to access a little bit more capacity to get more stuff. You're going to have your runes. And really, the winner of the game is going to be the player who manages this board and your resources the best. My final point when it comes to Tiny Epic Vikings, to emphasize the Euro bones of this game, is the point system, which is very dynamic. You're going to have to keep track of it throughout the entire game. So I have tracked what the game calls the God's Fury. Throughout the game, all three of them. This will change depending on different actions that I take. So if I'm sailing around and I'm either acquiring or stealing runes, the God's Fury will go up. Also, if I lose combats, the God's Fury will go up. They got mad at you that you lost. So that might be another reason to strategically lose a combat here and there. And there's so many other things that you could do to increase these tracks over here. Depending on what you're going for, you want to maximize your point scoring items, which are these cards and the runes. And so because Freya over here ended up with the most valuable stuff, yellow is in good position. They have 1 rune. They would score 6 points. And they also have 2 runes on the card, so they would score 10, then 14. Not sure why they did the snake track over here. Total sidebar, but you get the idea. So don't just collect the points. Make sure they are as valuable as you can possibly make them through the God's Fury. And so that was my preview for Tiny Epic Vikings. My sincere hope is I was able to break the game down and give you some more information so that you can figure out if this game is worth your time, your attention, and ultimately your dollars. There's a link to the crowdfunding campaign in the show notes, and while you're down there, like the video, subscribe to the channel. We are the one-stop co-op shop, your one-stop for solo and cooperative gaming goodness. So this is Jason reminding you that we will see you at the next stop.